Good afternoon, everyone. Andrew Eaton here from the sleepy little hollow town of Salt Rock on the KwaZulu-Natal North Coast here in South Africa. Just give me a sec while I log onto my Facebook here so I can see if I am going live indeed via StreamYard onto my account. So if you give me a second, I can't see myself on my own account yet. So let me just see. There I am. So let me just see here. Okay, fantastic. So if you're dialing in and you're live, please click live. If you are watching the replay, please click replay. And do me a favor, just tell me who you are, where you're coming in from, so we can have a little bit of a chat here. And hopefully we have some fun here today. I've got some news for everyone. And yeah. I think some of you guys might be on here because you've seen the title. And yeah, we're going to discuss that today. Hey, Angie, Vanessa, how are you guys doing? Oh, by the way, people, if you're getting value from this, give me the love button, the hearts. If you think there's someone that should hear this, please share this and make sure that they see this as well. So here's what I want to say to you is, number one, I haven't been very, hi Guadalupe from Mexico. I haven't been very active in terms of my lives, at least on Facebook for a while. If you're watching this on YouTube, certainly not on YouTube. The reason why I've been a bit quiet, I've had a lot on my plate, a lot happening with a project that we're involved with. We've got a big launch in Dubai, 25, 26, 27th of June. Really, how's it, Neil? Dimitri, how are you doing? Gav, how are you doing? Hadarat series, how are you doing? So I've been a bit quiet on the Facebook lives. Had a lot on my plate, other things I'm focusing on. And I think, I'll start doing a lot of lives around about beginning of June again. I'm off to Dubai, going via the Maldives, because I don't know if you know, but South Africans have to quarantine for 2 weeks when they go to Dubai, or they need to have been outside of the country for 2 weeks. So we're going to go and spend 2 weeks in Maldives and quarantine there, and then go to Dubai, where we've got a rather big company event on the 25th of June. And obviously leading into that, I'll do a lot more lives, let people know what's going on there. It's in the crypto space, obviously. But that's the reason I've been really quiet, really focused. And yeah, I'm not one of those people who believes in saying things for the sake of saying things. I'd rather, if I'm going to say something, have a reason to be saying it. So yeah, so you guys saw the title. You guys saw the title. Bitcoin's crashing. We're all doomed. We're all stuffed. And I know there are a lot of people new in crypto, a lot of people new in Bitcoin, and this is for you guys. Some of us have seen this rodeo before, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my story so you guys realize that I'm not panicking. I am, in fact, not even phased, but I do realize that a lot of people are. I've had, in the last 24, 48 hours, so many people message me, people that are not even in business with me, they're not clients of mine, nothing, just friends who are in crypto. In the last 3 hours alone, 4 hours alone, I've had countless WhatsApp messages. What should I do? Should I do this? I'm panicking. And here's what I'm going to say to you. So I want to tell you a story. And hopefully the story is going to help some of you who are panicking because you've seen the big dip, and or people that have been wanting to get in realize this is a good time to get in. So here's my story. I fell into Bitcoin in 2015-16. I fell into it, literally by mistake. Didn't really know much about it, but I want to tell you something. Hi, Charmaine. Bitcoin was $350 a Bitcoin in 2015-16 when I got on board. I want people to let this sink in. That was 5-6 years ago. $350 a Bitcoin. And I got in. And I accumulated quite a bit of Bitcoin. And during the next 2-3 years, people, I watched Bitcoin go from $350 to $500 to $800 to $1,000. And at about $1,000, my friends started saying to me, oh, maybe this thing that you're doing is real. And they started buying. Now, what I do want to say to you, it was never in a straight line. Bitcoin doesn't go in a straight line. Like the crypto doesn't go a straight line. It does this. I want you to go from $1,000 to $5,000, like this. I watched it go from $5,000 to $10,000, like this. All the time I was accumulating more. I watched it go from $10,000 to $15,000. And during this time, people, more and more of my friends were saying, I've got to get in, I've got to get in, I've got to get in. All that fear of missing out. The FOMO was kicking in and people were buying and buying and buying and buying and buying. And there was just this massive, massive frenzy. I watched it go up to $19,500. And I had friends who came in around about the $18,000 or $19,000. And that was in 2018. And then it crashed. I watched it go from $19,500 down to $10,000 in the space of a couple of days. Pretty much similar to what's just happened now. A week or two. And during that space, all those same people who were so excited about this new thing started to panic. This thing's dumping. And the whole thing is they were reading mainstream media. All these things, they were reading Bloomberg and CNBC and all this mainstream media that were feeding them this fad driven by corporations who were wanting it to go down so they could buy it at cheap. And what were they doing? They were selling their Bitcoin. They were selling their future. They were selling their assets. And they were selling it at a loss because they were panic selling. How many of you on this call, tell me, just write in the comments box here, how many of you have been in Bitcoin for a couple of years? You remember that? How many of you remember the narrative, I lost money in Bitcoin? People who bought Bitcoin and sold at a loss because they sold when there was a correction and they panicked. I watched friends of mine coming at 18,000, selling it at 8,000. $10,000 lost per Bitcoin. I watched Bitcoin go all the way down to $3,000. And during this time, do you know how many of my friends were saying, Andrew, you're crazy. Read this article. Read that article. It's crashing. It's going to naught. Governments are going to ban it. Hey, China just banned it today, by the way. Again, it's about the 5th time China have banned Bitcoin. By the way, have you read that? Okay. Get out now. Just save yourself. But you see, guys, here's what I want to say to you is I understand the long game. I understand the long game. And if you want to make money in Bitcoin, start understanding the long game. If you want to make money in crypto, trying to start understand the long game. And the problem that we have is too many people are trying to play the short game, trying to get rich quick. And you can make really good money quickly in Bitcoin. You can lose it just as quickly if you're playing the short game. But the people playing the long game, they never lose. They never lose. And so you see, I watched crypto. I watched Bitcoin go down to $3,000. This time last year, approximately, Bitcoin was sitting at $3,000. People, that's a year ago. It was sitting at $3,000. Okay? Now, I want to put things in perspective. That was the new low point. But let's put things into perspective. It was 10 times up, 10 times higher from 2016 when I got in at 350. So everyone's going, Bitcoin's crashed. Well, where's it crashed? Is what I always used to say, people. Where's it crashed? It's gone from a few cents in 2010. It's gone up to 19,500, but it's come down at 3,000. It's settled there. Where's the crash from 1 cent or 350 to 3,000? Because you see, here's what we learned. And here's what we know as of today. Bitcoin does this. It is volatile, but it is undoubtedly and unquestionably the best performing asset year on year for the last decade. With an average of 200% growth per year, there is no other asset that's performed like it. Absalom, yeah, do binary if you want him to, but I'm not going to sit in front of my computer all day trading. But binaries are great for people who want to do binaries. Bitcoin just play the long game. Bitcoin doesn't suck. If you understand Bitcoin, it's probably the biggest revolution in the world. So I watched it go all the way down to $3,000. Most of my friends had sold out. Most of my friends, like many people, were saying, I lost money in Bitcoin. And the only reason they did is because they played the short game. And they panic sold at a loss. The people who make money in Bitcoin buy the dips. They don't sell the dips. And so I've done a lot of wrong things. Guys, Bitcoin is a learning process for all of us. It's been a learning process for me the last 6 years. I've done some stupid things in Bitcoin, but I've never exited Bitcoin. Crypto, I should say. And so I've kept enough Bitcoin from that $3,000. And I watched it grow from $3,000 all the way up to $65,000. And guess what started to happen as that growth started happening? And people, that growth only started in November, December last year. It was 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago. It only started a couple of months ago. We watched it go from $3,000 up to $65,000. And guess what started to happen? All my friends, I've got to get into this. I've got to get into this. I've got to get into this. How do I get in? How do I buy Bitcoin? How do I buy Ethereum? This thing's going, whoa. And now, in the last 48 hours, many of those same people are panicking again. Oh, it's going down, it's crashing, it's crashing. People, it's not crashing. It's not crashing. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. It's correcting. It's going to find a new support level. Could be in the 20s of thousands. It could be in the 30s of thousands. I cannot tell you where that's going to be. And then it's going to jump again, just like it's done every time for the last decade. And we're going to see Bitcoin go up to $100,000 plus in the not too distant future. And I can tell you the same thing about Ethereum, Cardano, Binance Coin, same sort of trajectory. It's happened before. It's happening now. And it's going to happen again. My question to you is here. Number one, if you're in Bitcoin, do you want to learn what the people who are making real wealth in Bitcoin are doing? Do you want to follow them? Or do you want to follow what the weak hands are doing? The weak hands are selling. The strong hands are buying. The strong hands don't sell. If you've never been in Bitcoin before and you thought you'd missed it, now's your time to get in. Buy the dip. Get involved. Exactly, Travis. Very good point. I just don't think Absalom's got Bitcoin, but it's fine. A lot of people don't like Bitcoin. I mean, Peter Schiff, he's a gold buff. He hates Bitcoin. It's fine. It's not for everyone. I'm just saying, for those that do. So here's what I want to say to you. I was watching a YouTube clip by a guy called Michael Saylor. For those of you who don't know who Michael Saylor is, he's the CEO of MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is a Fortune 500 company, and they've probably bought more Bitcoin than any other company in the world right now. They've got most of their treasury in Bitcoin. And he's speaking to the CEOs, chairman of other Fortune 500 companies, trying to tell them exactly why they should be putting money into Bitcoin as well. And I want to tell you what he said. By the way, guys, if you're getting value, please pump a couple of hearts here. Thanks, Neil. Pump a couple of hearts because the Facebook algorithms love it and what have you. And, I like to see that I'm maybe adding a bit of value. But here's what he said. And, guys, I like to follow the people who know what they're talking about. You see, I'm a Bitcoin enthusiast. I'm a crypto enthusiast. I'm by no means an expert, but I listen to the experts. One thing that mentors have told me is listen to people who know what they're talking about. And so I listen to the experts. I think when a guy's got over $1 billion of his company's assets in Bitcoin, and he's put his money where his mouth is, that's the guy I want to listen to. I don't want to listen to the data. You just put nothing in. And here's what he said. And some of you guys on here probably are into property. And so this really, really made it clear to me a couple of days ago, actually. He said when he's in New York, and he speaks to the really wealthy families in New York, all the old money that's sitting in New York. He says, without fail, when he asks them, where did you make your money? Where did your family make your money? The family made their money hundreds of years ago, 100 plus years ago, when great-grandpa or great-great-grandpa bought property in Manhattan. And here's what they did. They never sold their property. I want you guys to understand this at a deep level. And they never sold their property. You see, what they understood was that New York was going to grow, more people were going to come to New York, and more people were going to need places to live in New York, and also as a result that more businesses would need to open up in New York. And so the property owners would be able to rent their property out to people who wanted to put the buildings on, skyscrapers eventually, and live off that asset for the rest of their lives. Not only the rest of their lives, but their children and their children's children are now living off that very same property. But instead of 100 years ago there being a small little one-story house on that block, now we have 100-story skyscrapers owned by the same families. They never sold. And they live off the assets because they can rent those buildings out. They can rent their property out. They can loan against those properties. And they become the wealthiest people in the world because once upon a time, great-grandpa or great-great-grandpa had the foresight to realize people are coming here, they're going to need to work and live somewhere. We need to own the property, never sell it, and use that asset to generate income for generations to come. Is this making sense? If it's making sense, click the love button because there's an epiphany coming here for some of you. He said on that call, Michael Saylor, only the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. He said, Bitcoin is like a virtual New York. You see, New York only has a specific, Manhattan. It's only got a specific area. Bitcoin's only ever 21 million Bitcoin are going to be produced. And even if you've got a fraction of a Bitcoin, you now own a piece of that virtual New York. Think about it. You've got a little bit of a corner property. Maybe you've got 2 or 3 or 4 Bitcoin and you own a bigger property. But you own property. I want you to think of this. You own property. And guess what, people? As the world's financial systems start to change, one thing, beautiful thing about a blockchain, I want you guys to understand this. The beautiful thing about a blockchain, you can track how many wallets are being opened up every day, how many new people are coming to New York. You can track it daily. And there are more wallets being opened up in Bitcoin wallets being opened up every day now than ever in the history of Bitcoin. That means more people are coming to New York, your virtual New York. And these people are going to need to find a place to live. They're going to need to find a place to work in your New York. And what many people don't get is that just like, listen to me carefully here, just like those wealthy families in New York now from generations back when great-grandpa bought their property and they never sold and lived off the assets, just like that, I will guarantee you one thing. Those institutionalized investors and your big Bitcoin whales and people who know what's going on, people playing the long game. And long game is not next year, the year after, or 10 years. Those people are never getting rid of their Bitcoin. It's true, Greg. Very true. Virtual New York. It's a city. There's only so much space. They're never selling their Bitcoin. They are never selling their Bitcoin. Well, then how do they make money? How do they realize the returns if they're never going to sell it? Because they're going to borrow against it. And they're going to lend out against it. And if you understand the layer 2 of what's happening in the crypto world, there's layer 1, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, those simple blockchains. But underneath these blockchains, there's an immense amount of projects taking place, being built on these blockchains. And there's something called decentralized finance, where people are able to loan against their Bitcoin, lend people against the Bitcoin, and no bank or no middleman has to tick a box. It's instantaneous. You click a button. Yeah, Travis, Bitcoin's capped at 21 million. It's always been written like that, can't be changed. The last Bitcoin will be mined, by the way, in the year 2140 something. We'll all be dead. And so people understand this. I'm not a Bitcoin whale. I'm a little man in Bitcoin. I own a few, which by my standards is life-changing. I'm never selling it. I understand the long game. I understand that I own a little piece of New York. And I will loan against that. through decentralized finance and using the decentralized finance vehicles, I will rent my property and make money off that, residuals. And that's where the Bitcoin world's going. And so what you're seeing happening right now, as I close off, if you understand that, all the negative press, all that press that is causing the FUD and this big sell-off, once again, it's beautiful. You can track this on the blockchain. Guess where the biggest sell-off's happening right now? You can go and track this. I'm not going to teach this to you, but go and look on the blockchain. If you understand how, go look at the wallets, and you'll see that the most of the sell-off happening right now are the sell-offs that are happening from people who've had wallets for less than a year. In other words, new people came in, right? Because they got excited because they saw Bitcoin growing. And it's those same people who are selling right now because they're buying all this FUD being fed to them by mainstream media, who is owned by who? The banks. And guess who's buying the Bitcoin? Guess who's buying your Bitcoin if you sell it today? Banks, financial institutions. You see, some of them only got in, banks, a lot of banks only got in this year. And they need to buy it at cheaper. And so that's where the FUD's coming from. And I'll put money on it that Elon Musk is going to buy some more. Tesla's going to buy more at about 30,000, which is where he bought the last time, by the way. JP Morgan's going to buy more. And they're going to buy it from the weak hands. People like you and me who panic sell. Because there's hardly been any volume on the exchanges. It's been very difficult to get over-the-counter deals done right now. No one's been selling it. So they created the FUD, and now it's here, and now they can buy. And then they're never selling that Bitcoin again, people. They're never selling it again. Because they're going to build skyscrapers in the virtual New York. They've figured it out. They know how to do it. They're doing it from the real world in the virtual world now. Here comes our little boy. Angus, outside, please. Just now. And so my question to you is, are you going to be a weak hand or a strong hand? And if you haven't bought Bitcoin yet, if you haven't bought Bitcoin yet, then now's your chance. You know, so many people also say to me, oh, it's now 50,000, 60,000. I've missed it. I can't afford it. Well, you're never going to get it cheaper than this again. When I say cheaper, in between the 20 to 35,000, 20 odd thousand to 20, 30,000 odd mark. What are you waiting for? Okay. So, no, we're not all doomed. No, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. Stop believing the FUD you're reading. Start seeing the bigger game. Start understanding the long game. The world is changing, people. And there's big, big money coming into Bitcoin right now. Big money. They needed to get in cheaper. They've manipulated the market, and they're doing it. I'm not a financial advisor. None of what I'm saying here, a little addendum, is financial advice. I'm just wanting to impart with all those people phoning me and messaging me saying they're panicking, what should they do? I can't tell you what to do. But I'm telling you that I am unmoved. I'm not selling one Bitcoin, one Ethereum. If anything, I'll get a little bit more at these lower prices. And I am going to 100% own my piece of a virtual New York. Because I want to leave generational wealth. If you can think like that, then you should be smiling right now. So, if you've got value, pump the love buttons here, please. If you think there's someone that needs to hear about this, then please share this with them. Feel free to share it with them. As I said, I'll probably start doing a few more lives from June as we get closer to launching our project. I haven't really been in the headspace to be doing any lives. 100% Lothar, but I felt that I needed to do this one. Exciting times ahead. Buy the dip. I'm buying the dip, we're absolutely fine, man. Absolutely fine. Just don't be a short-term thinker. Be a long-term player. All right. Don't try and get rich quick with Bitcoin. Still get rich quick if you think about it. I mean, hell, if you think that Bitcoin 5 years ago was $350 and it's now, call it $35,000, and it's been up as high as $65,000, show me anything that can make so much money so quickly anyway. But understand the game you're in. understand the 4 lines you're playing between. Okay. Right. Tell the world, people. Tell the world not to panic. Tell your friends not to panic. And we'll be all be good. Okay. Thanks for your time. I hope you got value. Share, click the love buttons, and I'll chat to you guys all soon. Cheers.